Oh, yeah?
Plink, plink, plink,
What was my captain? What was my coach?
Plink, plink, link.
What was my coach talking about?
Plink, plink, link.
Oh, yeah?
Plink, 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 link.
He was talking about never letting the sun beat you up. Okay, all right. He was giving advice. He was giving coaching on careers. Uh-huh. What did he say? He said set the alarm clock 5 minutes early so you can get to work, get to your job 5 minutes early. That's coming from my coach. You mean my coach that's never had a job? Oh, he worked for his dad? Oh, yeah? He never had a real job? But he's telling people that they can get to work 5 minutes early? And then they can get to work 10 minutes early? And he's talking about their supervisor noticing. Which supervisor is he referring to? He's talking about the supervisor as in his father noticing that he's 5 minutes or 10 minutes early? Oh, yeah? So he's saying that if you get there early, eventually you get to be there 30 minutes early. Your supervisor will notice, and that will allow for you to advance in your career. Oh, yeah? Is that how it works? He's giving career advice to folks. The one that's never had a job. Really? He's giving corporate advice to folks. Corporate motivation. Oh, yeah? How to rise, how to climb that corporate ladder. A ladder that he has no knowledge of, no awareness of, no experience with. He's telling folks how they can climb that corporate ladder. Someday they can be managers at their job. Within their career, they can be managers. Really? Never let the sun beat you up. He's talking about this success. Oh, yeah? Which success? He's talking about success in the ministry. He's talking about farming success. What kind of success? Oh, okay. We're talking about YouTube success. So he's talking about if you want to have YouTube success, never let the sun beat you up. Okay, all right. Well, I guess we can accept that. Okay, that sounds reasonable. But any other career advice that comes from my coach, I'm going to say beware. Beware of any advice, any career advice coming from my coach who's never had any career. Okay? Although YouTube can be lucrative, YouTube does not count as a career. It does not count as a career move. Okay? Last we knew, you didn't quit anything to become a YouTube influencer, so to speak. Last we knew, you didn't educate yourself at all in order to become a YouTube content creator. Last we knew, you didn't climb any ladders in order to attain certain YouTube success. So how in the world, coach, how in the world can you give people career advice? How in the world? But okay. All right. All right. Well, before I get into my reaction, I'm going to give a reaction, by the way, to the recent prison to perping nodcast. The prison to perping nodcast, as in. Is he done yet? Okay, I'm going to give my reaction to that. But before that, I have to recognize you guys that have been active in the comments. Keep that commentary flowing. Keep that dialogue going both ways. Of course, I have to recognize you heavy Tim followers that have been in the comments. I hear you guys. I see what you guys are saying. You guys are saying, Captain, some captain you are. I hear you guys. You guys are saying, Captain, if Pastor Tim wants to educate his boys, if he wants to miseducate his boys on ice cream and cola, then so be it. It's behind the farm gates. Okay? He's left to his own devices. Megan's left to her own devices. And so if he wants to take away from those boys' education and focus on some ice cream and some soda for the day, then so be it. If he wants to miseducate those boys, so be it. If he wants to have the boys play in the ice cream, play in the soda, which is something that they could have done after homeschooling, something they could have done in the evening. They could have played in the soda after dinner. But if he wants to take away from their more authentic, some true homeschooling for the sake of playing in the soda, then so be it. If he wants to play around with those boys' education, okay? If education is a game for our pastor, Tim, if it's a game for him, then so be it. They're his boys. He can do whatever he wants with them. And I'm like, okay, all right, I hear you guys. You guys be wilding in the comments, but I hear you guys. And as long as you guys are wilding, I'm going to keep on digressing. Welcome back to the end game, where today I'm going to provide my reaction to the recent prison to perping notcast. I'm going to provide my reaction to that video here. Early in the video, Tim talks about spiritual time and season, and he talks about the fact that a lot of people can only relate to physical time. And I'm like, okay, coach, need I remind you, coach? Well, apparently I do need to remind you that time is not physical. Time itself is a concept, okay? It's what you do with the time that may become physical, okay? It's how you fill in the time. It's how you fill up the time that may become physical, but time itself is a concept. It's a construct, coach, okay? And so you talk about physical versus spiritual time. And you talked about how, therefore, some people, they operate on a calendar time frame, whereas you and Megan, you guys operate on these spiritual seasons. And I'm like, okay, coach, all right. Now, also, early in the video, you talk about how you were sitting in your side-by-side and you were giggling and you were laughing and you were saying, this is too easy. And I know, coach, we know you're laughing. We know you're giggling. The question is, who are you laughing or giggling at? And of course, us observant viewers, we know that you are laughing at those heavy Tim followers. We know that you're laughing at those steady Tim supporters. We know that you're laughing at them. Those donors, those unwitting donors that are still sending you those tips and those gifts. It's like, coach, you're like, it's too easy. It's too easy. Getting this money, getting these gifts, getting these offerings, it's just too easy. Posting these videos and having my fanatical followers, having your fanatical followers watch those videos, running up your views. I know you're saying it's just too easy. And you're laughing at them, coach. You're laughing at them. And those are the only folks that I can imagine you're laughing at, because I know you're not laughing at God. And it's actually God that's blessing you. But he's laughing and he's talking about how it's just too easy. All right, coach. All right.
P2P motivation. Here we go. I had a thought, and it was kind of a funny thought when I had it, but it was also a powerful thought. And I think that it can help to encourage you all. It can help to motivate you all. It can help to take you to the next level. And it can also encourage you that with God, the way that God operates is by seasons, spiritual times and seasons. Everybody doesn't understand this because some people only understand physical times and seasons. The Bible talks about how we can look at the sky and we can discern if the rain is going to come. We see rain clouds. We can discern if it's daylight. We see the sun. We can discern if it's nighttime. We see the moon. But he says that sometimes we're spiritually illiterate because we can't understand the spiritual times and seasons. We only know January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. That's all we know. But let me just slow down a little bit, because the thought I had was, this is too easy. I was sitting there, and the thought that I had is, this is too easy.
Shortly after that, my coach and y'all's pastor, y'all's savior, you woeful Tim worshipers, you. But my coach talked about yokes. And when he got done giggling about it being too easy, it's too easy, God. It's too easy. When he got done laughing about it being too easy, he talked about the yoke. He alluded to folks being evenly yoked or equally yoked. And we couldn't help but think about Megan and the fact that she's yoked to you. She's tied to you, but it ain't easy. Her yoke ain't easy. Yes. She's been forced to quit her career. She's been forced to participate in the deception. She's been forced to give her boys a flawed education. She's been forced to raise those 4 boys by herself. So she's yoked to you, coach. Wherever you go, she has to go, coach. But it ain't easy for her, coach. You're talking about the yoke being easy for you. What about for Megan? All right. She's yoked to you. She has to go wherever you go. If you guys were more evenly yoked, more equally yoked, you would have brought something to the table. Yes. She brought education and a career, coach. What did you bring? Other than some determination, other than some hustle, other than some post-prison mentality. Although some people say it's a current prison mentality. Although you brought some mentality, some hustle mentality, some getting over type of mentality, some using and usury type of mentality to the table, Megan brought education and a career. And so you guys were never equally yoked. Yes. She brought some ministry experience. She brought some missionary experience. She brought experience with the word. Okay. She brought that to the table. And all you brought was some prison ministry to the table. Okay. And you yoked her. You yoked her to yourself. And you steered her. And you steered her down this path. And so when we talk about a yoke being easy, yours might be easy. But what about Megan's yoke? Her burden ain't light, coach. It ain't light.
Out the field, or they're trying to pull this cart, or they're trying to do something, and they need these 2 oxen to like go in unison together. And so they yoke them up. They put this thing around their neck, put the thing around the other one's neck, and they have to move in unison. If one oxen goes this way, the other one oxen has to go that way. If they go straight, they both have to go straight. And so they're yoked up. And so Jesus, he puts this unifying yoke that yokes us to him. And he says that the yoke that I give is not hard like the world. The yoke that I give is not heavy like the world. But he says the yoke that I give is easy and it's light. And so I was thinking this thought, this is too easy.
Shortly after that, coach, he talks about being mature. Imagine that, my coach, the big old baby, being more mature than his years. He talks about how some folks are, they're older than him, but he has more experience. And of course, we have to keep in mind that the majority of my coach's experience came behind the bars. The majority of his experience came within the penal system, in the penitentiary. And so the majority of his experience came then. And so he implies that because he's mature beyond his years, he's able to teach others. And I'm like, Coach, which others are you referring to? Are you trying to teach other ex-prisoners? Okay, so you may have more prison experience than the average prisoner. And so you may have a lot to teach them about getting over in this world. Okay, but those folks that have had their freedom, that have enjoyed their freedom out in the civilian world, what experience do you have to share with them, Coach? What experience do you have to share with them? Okay, and but you talk about sharing your experience. You're beyond your years, and so that you can instruct folks, you can motivate folks, you can inspire folks. And I always have to ask the question: inspire them to do what? Okay. Motivate them to do what? Maybe motivate them on what not to do, Coach. Okay. You're well qualified for that, Coach.
Because I have lived through some different times and seasons in my life. And I know you all always hear me talk like an old man. I'm only 35 years old. But I've been through some things. And the Lord has matured me at this pace, this rapid pace, to where I can be mature far beyond my years, to where I can be a teacher to those that are older than me, because they may have more lifetime than me, but not more life experience. For real. But this is
A bit later, my coach takes us down memory lane once again, and I have to assume that this is being directed at you new subscribers to this prison to perping notcast or nodcast. I have to assume that it's directed at you guys. He's going down memory lane. He's talking about things that he used to do within his ministry years and years ago. He talks about how he was doing ministry for 11 years. And I'm like, well, coach, we know that you have weaknesses when it comes to the arithmetic. But by your calculation, you've been out of prison for about 13 years now, coach. And you've been away from the ministry for 4 of those years, coach. And so we have to say that 13 minus 4 does not equal 11, coach. So there's no way that that's going to equal to you ministering for 11 years, coach. I do understand that you want to try to exaggerate the truth, but that does not equate to 11 years. You talked about the undeniable, the documentation of the ministry that you used to do. That's admirable, coach. Okay, but that ministry from years ago should have been replaced by now. In the last 4 years, by now it should have been replaced by some new video footage of some new ministry work. Okay, some undeniable new work in the community, some undeniable work of some new impacts on saving some souls. Okay, where's the new work? Where's the current work? Okay, you talk about that being a season. If that's a past season, coach, why does it keep coming up, coach? Just like turning the page in a book, coach. Clearly you turned the page on that season years ago, coach. Why does it keep coming up? As if it's current, coach. It's past tense, coach. It's past history. It's history, coach. Okay, let's talk about the present. You talked about, well, you're not good with the years because you're living in the now. I'm not sure how biblical that is about living in the now, coach. But if you're talking about, if you're so focused on living in the now, where is the ministry now? Where is it, coach?
It's too easy because I've been through different seasons. And in the past season of my life, when I was pastoring in the city for about 9 or 10 years, somewhere in that range, maybe 11, somewhere in there, I'm not good with specific dates. I'm just living in the moment, you know. But I was pastoring in the city. The type of ministry that we did, and it's an undeniable truth about the ministry that we did. We have years and years and years of pictures and videos and all those type of things. And like I said, I won't bore you all with putting all the pictures and videos on there, but we used to post on Facebook back before we started posting on YouTube. And since we've been posting on YouTube, we have undeniable truths there as well. And
later, my coach talked about how back years ago, eons ago, back when they used to do some ministry work, he talked about the fact that they didn't see any fruit. And I'm like, hold on, coach. If you have any folks that are out there walking with you by faith, any folks that are participating in some of your ministry, some of the sermons that you were given, or some of the prayer sessions that you had, or the laying of hands, if you have any folks that were participating in that, there was fruit. There was fruit, coach. Okay, so when you talk about not seeing any fruit, which fruit are you referring to? Okay. Considering that folks were being affected, people were being changed, people in the community were benefiting, and you say you didn't see any fruit, I can only surmise that the fruit you're referring to is the financial fruit. And so you guys are doing all that work and you weren't seeing any financial fruit. I'm like, hold on now. You weren't seeing any financial fruit, coach? Come on, coach. But you talk about not seeing that fruit. You talk about the fact that now you can see that fruit more readily. The fruit is more readily apparent. Now, I'm thinking that part of the fruit that you wanted to see is you were going in and you were trying to recruit church members from other congregations, local bodies, as you called them, right? You called them local bodies. But I understand by Megan's admission that you guys are going in, you were trying to pluck members from other churches. Shame on you. You're trying to recruit people from other congregations, other churches. And I guess they weren't following your lead. They weren't impressed. And so they were staying put. And I guess you weren't seeing that fruit either. And apparently you had an issue with that, coach. But now, also in this little snippet, I'm like, well, coach, why is it that you're constantly positioning the camera so that you can capture the tractor, the bad boy tractor, and so that you can capture the side-by-side, when you're talking about fruit and not seeing fruit, and how you're seeing fruit these days, and how it's so easy these days. What are we talking about, Coach? We're talking about hoarding even more material assets. What is this video about, Coach? Is this video more about the bad boy tractor and more about the side-by-side and other material acquisitions? What is it about? I know in other videos you position the camera so that we can capture the boys and so that we can capture Megan and capture Grandma Lily. But in these shots, in this video, it's just you and the toys, Coach. Okay? And so clearly we can see what your priority is when it comes to fruit. Clearly we can see what fruit you're referring to, Coach.
So during those times of ministering in the city, the fruit that came from that ministry was not an immediate fruit. So for instance, we would literally labor in a neighborhood because the type of ministry that we did was unique towards today's Western civilization and culture. But I think according to the Bible and during Bible times, we would fit right in. But according to the way that we conduct ourselves in religion now, we were kind of unique, kind of weird. And so we would work with different local bodies. We call them local bodies. Some call them churches. So we work with different churches, and the Lord would send us on assignment, and we would go to this church and we would labor there for a while and teach them how to prayer walk, teach them how to get outside of the four walls, because we had an evangelistic type ministry. And in that evangelistic type ministry, we would go and teach the different local bodies. We would get their outreach teams and anyone that wanted to come, pastors, anybody who wanted to come and get outside of the walls of complacency. And so we would go to different local bodies and we would disciple them, minister to them, walk alongside of them. And then once we were done discipling them, we would go to a different local body. And as a part of our ministry, we also had a ministry base, and we lived on that ministry base. We had a lot next to it, probably about an acre lot.
A bit later, while still wandering down memory lane, still dwelling in the past when the ministry was active, versus now when the season is changing, so it's gone dormant. Forget about being inactive. The season changed and the ministry went dormant. But he talks about the ministry base and how they had a lot next to the ministry base. Of course, glossing over the fact that the ministry base was Megan's house and the house that was left to her, but that was the ministry base. Repeatedly, he's been determined, he's been adamant about never giving any acknowledgement as far as that being Megan's house. It's the ministry base. And so I'm like, well, how in the world would you take over Megan's property, take over her inheritance, and label it as being the ministry base? Why would it be so significant for it to be labeled as a ministry base and not as Megan's house? Okay, but you talk about that, and then shortly after that, you get into talking about donations, Coach. Let's hear about these donations, Coach, and you can talk about how it's so easy now to get those donations compared to in the past.
Something like that next to our house on the ministry base. And we had a big pavilion set up, like an open shed, something similar to our barn, like this opening here, but it was like way bigger. It was like 30 by 40, like 1,200 square feet, just an open pavilion. We had chairs under there and we would meet up with the community and worship Jesus and tell them about the Lord, disciple people. We had a TV there. We would let kids watch like Christian cartoons. The kids in the neighborhood didn't have a place to play because all of the city lots were so small.
Later, my coach, y'all's pastor, y'all's ex-pastor, he talked about how they had the ministry base and they had the Oasis house, which I guess was a garage. And he talked about getting donations of food, water, and clothing, and lamps. Don't forget the lamps, and don't forget the hats. But they would get donations of food, water, and clothing. And so Coach clearly acknowledges that they received donations. And so why in the world, moments later, does Coach talk about the fact that they didn't get any donations? Okay? From your admission and from Megan's admission, you guys were living off of donations. Okay? Although people donated, they made donations to help the needy. You and Megan, you guys assigned yourselves to be needies number 1 and needies number 2. So you guys decide, well, charity begins at home. And so when we get these donations, we're going to assign them. We're going to pick through them. We're going to choose what we want first. And whatever scraps are left over, we're going to disseminate those. We're going to make them available to the community. But how in the world can you say that you didn't receive any donations in that season when you were receiving plenty of donations? That was the entire premise of the little oasis, the oasis house or the oasis garage, Coach.
But anyway, so and we also had a clothing ministry, a clothing shop. And so because people in our neighborhood needed clothes, they needed food, water, and clothing. The basic essentials for life were things that people were struggling with in their neighborhood. And so we opened up a clothing shop. We renovated or restored the old garage that was like a 1-car garage that was behind our house, our home, and behind our ministry-based house. We restored that and we called it the Oasis. And so we put food in there, water, clothes, and people would come by and get food, water, and clothing. We had a clothing ministry.
A bit later, my coach talked about, he was still on this memory lane kick, still in this nostalgia phase, still in this past tense, past lives type mode. But he talks about how they would watch the news, find out where certain crimes occurred, and they would rush out there so that they could pray with the folks that were being affected, or the folks in the near vicinity of the event. And I'm like, well, that's admirable, Coach. But now in some circles, they call that ambulance chasing. So let me get this right. You would listen to your scanner, you would watch the news, and then you would rush out to these spots so that you guys could get out there and pray, so that you guys could be noticed, okay, so that you guys could cherry pick, so that you guys could recruit, Coach. Were you out there because there was a need, or were you out there because there was an opportunity for recruitment, Coach? Yeah, definitely. Some people call that ambulance chasing. Now, if it was authentic and it was from the heart, it would be admirable. It would be a show of love, absolutely a show of love. But considering that you guys acknowledged that you were going into different churches and different congregations and trying to pluck their membership, and you talked about not seeing the fruit, we can only guess that you were ambulance chasing because you knew there would be some type of crowd there. And you knew that would be the perfect opportunity for you guys to pluck. But all right, Coach. All right.
And if there was like a murder or some type of shooting or some type of death or something like that, some type of crime, heinous crime, we knew the source of those things. And so if we saw those news statements and the Lord put it on our heart, those news stories at least, and the Lord put it on our heart, we would actually go there and pray. You know what I'm saying? We would go there and pray. We would like set a new standard in that area. So I'm just setting the plot for the intensity of the ministry that we were doing before this season here. I know.
Later, you talked about not seeing any results. Now, first you were talking about not seeing any fruit, but then you shifted it to talking about not seeing any results. And you talk about not seeing any results for years and years and years. Okay, now, what kind of ministry, what kind of strong ministry does not have any results for years and years and years? Come on now. No souls saved. No lives changed. No sick healed. No dead raised, Coach. I thought you said you were raising the dead. For years and years. Okay, so we Coach, it's pretty clear that the results that you're referring to are either financial results or results as far as your congregation, your own congregation growing. Now, we have seen the undeniable footage of you doing your church ministry, your street ministry. We've seen the footage. We've seen those 10 to 12 congregants, including Megan and the boys. We've seen the paltry crowd that you've drawn. Okay? We've seen it. And so we do understand that your followers were not growing. Your congregation was not growing. We have seen that your ministry was not growing. And so we understand that those are results. Okay, those are the results that you're referring to, Coach. And so when did the results, if you're results driven, when did your drive for results shift from saving souls, okay, affecting folks with your ministry, growing your ministry, authentically growing your ministry? When did your focus change from those types of results to the financial results, coach. Because when you talk about now you see instant fruit, now you see instant results. Coach, we know what you're referring to. But when did your focus change, coach? When did it change?
We would disciple people for years after years after years, and we might not see any results. We would pray for years in the same spot. We were praying in multiple different spots at one time, but on that particular spot, we would pray at that spot, and we might not see any results for year after year after year. And we were called to walk by faith because the Lord spoke to us and said.
A bit later, y'all's pastor, he talks about giggling. He's giggling again, talking about, oh, this is too easy. Lord, it's too easy. And like, okay, now, don't forget, God gives you free will. Okay, if your will is to connive, to scam and scheme, then so be it. Okay, your level of success, it varies. But if that's what you choose to do, you will see some results, some financial results. But you talk about it not being fair. Okay, it should not be this easy. You talk about seeing instantaneous results. You talk about it not being fair for you to be abundant. You talk about it not being fair for it to be that easy. I'm like, okay, come on now, coach. All right. Well, we do understand that what you're actually saying is it's not fair for you to be able to scheme. Yes, it's not fair. Yes, for you to be able to scheme easily. It's not fair for you to be able to influence easily. Yes, it's not fair for you to be able to change that narrative so easily. Yes, it's not fair for you to be able to manipulate so easily. It's not fair for you to be able to control so easily. It's not fair, coach. It's not fair for you to be able to suppress so easily. It's not fair for you to isolate so easily. That's what you're really saying, coach. Those things are not fair. But you have free will, coach. You have free will. Ultimately, you will have to answer for it. Okay? And it's not going to involve any conversation of my good and faithful servant. Okay? If you're not doing God's will, you're not a servant of God. If you're doing your will, you're doing Tim's will, that would not make you a servant of God. Okay? So it has nothing to do with being a good and faithful servant. Tell us about how you're serving God. You have to be serving God to be a faithful servant. Tell us about that. Don't tell us about your financial gain. Don't tell us about that, coach.
If y'all can see them or not, they're laying down right now. Laying down in green pastures. For real. Pastures aren't actually green, but they have hay. Laying down in green pastures. For real. Pastures aren't actually green, but they have hay. Now, laying down in green pastures. For real. Pastures aren't actually green, but they have hay. And we have seen that we wake up the next day and everything still looks the same. But now, in this season, I say it's too easy because we see immediate results. It's like I tell the Lord, I say, Lord, it's not even fair. It's like it's not even fair to be this blessed. It's not even fair to be this abundant. It's not even fair for this yoke to be so easy and so light. It's not even fair, Lord. But the Lord tells me, you have been good and faithful, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over few. Now I'm going to make you ruler over many. And that's why this season can be so abundant. That's why this season can be so fruitful. It's because we were faithful during the times.
A little bit later, my coach, he talks about needing money for the ministry. I'm like, hold on, coach. Your household and the ministry are supposed to be separate, coach. Okay? All right? But back then, I guess you didn't know about that, right? Okay? We do understand that later you came to understand that when you had some issues with the IRS, when you were trying to operate the IAG as a not-for-profit business. And we do understand you had certain issues with that later in life. But I guess early on, you didn't understand that the ministry and the household were supposed to be separate. But you talk about raising money for the ministry. You talk about selling dog kennels for the ministry, when of course you sold those dog kennels in order to support and sustain your household. You talked about barbering for the sake of the ministry. Okay, coach? Okay, you're not the ministry. It's supposed to be separate. But certainly you were borrowing for the sake of your household, in order to put food on your household's table, in order to put clothes onto the backs of your boys. Well, you had the donations that could put clothing on their back, but certainly you wanted to be able to put food on the table. But these things that you claim were done for the benefit of the ministry, raising money, raising funds for the benefit of the ministry. Of course, they were done to raise money for your household, to put money in your pocket. Okay, coach? All right. But you didn't see the difference back then. So it's understandable that you haven't seen the difference now until the IRS stepped in. Yes, coach?
You know, it's just funny because we didn't get any donations back then, and it's like we were still prospering, we were still buying land, like we owned multiple pieces of property. We were discipling people. We were still being fruitful, but we were getting it out the mud, as I like to say. You know, we never had any like fundraisers or anything like that. It's like I remember one time when we needed some funds, we started selling dog kennels. Like we started a business. Another time we needed some funds for the ministry, and I started cutting hair because I was a licensed barber, and I would really wasn't cutting hair, but I would cut hair on Fridays. We needed, you know, funds for the ministry. And like I said, people weren't giving us donations.
Later, my coach talks about when they were doing the ministry, and he talks about their fame spreading. And I'm like, hold on, what are we talking about? Is that biblical? What you guys should have been doing, and what we normally do, is we do things for the glory of God. We don't do it for our own glory or our own fame. And so you talk about God holding you guys back a little bit until you guys are ready for your fame to spread. You talk about God telling you that your fame was going to explode. And I'm like, okay, not sure that we can believe that one, coach. God does not really deal in fame. It's all for his glory. Okay. And so, not sure I can ride with you on this conversation, coach. We really should be talking about spreading the glory of God. Yeah. Spreading the love of God, not talk about spreading your own glory or spreading your own fame. Come on, coach.
But before we moved down here, the Lord spoke to us, and we had it on our vision board. I don't know if I have a picture of it or not, but maybe I can find a picture of it to show y'all. But the Lord told us that our fame was about to spread, and he said that he would allow it to spread like right then. And that was like 3 years before, you know, we found success on YouTube. But he said he would let our fame spread right then. But or he wanted to do great and miraculous miracles through us, and that our fame was going to spread. And he said, I'm not going to do these great and miraculous miracles through you all yet, because your fame was spread. And so so he prepared us. In other words, he prepared us for our fame spreading. So once our fame began to spread, and we started dealing with some of the things that you have to deal with, because, you know, we found success on YouTube. We found success on YouTube. We found success on YouTube.
Later, my coach, he's talking about this. Once they were prepared for the fame and their fame spreading, he talked about them seeing immediate fruit. He talks about when they post a video, they see immediate fruit. Okay. Monetary fruit. Yes. So they see immediate fruit. He talked about the fact that when they do some type of renovation, they see immediate fruit. And okay, I can only imagine that Grandma Lily right now is thinking, what are we talking about immediate? Okay, it's taking months for my house to be, for my trailer, for my Amazing Grace to be even 50% done, months upon months. And she's like, how is that immediate? And of course, Ernest, the barn / shed shack, Ernest is like, it's taking years. I've been like this for 2 to 3 years. I've been raggedy. Okay, you finally put some lipstick on me in the form of this siding. Yes, but I'm still a shack. I'm still a flea ridden. I'm still a roach infested, mouse afflicted, rat infested shack. And it's taken years upon years. So how am I immediate fruit? You point to the sheep or some of the livestock, and you talk about that being immediate fruit. And we're like, okay, well, you're already thinking about eating that little lamb. You're already thinking about that lamb. She just had the baby a couple of weeks ago. How is that immediate fruit? Okay? You're already thinking about taking that lamb to the freezer camp, taking it out to slaughter, out to the butcher. How is that immediate, coach? Oh, by the way, that lamb sat in mama's belly. The mama sheep is sat in the mama sheep's belly for months. So how is that immediate fruit, coach? Come on, coach.
It's easy at this point. And like I say, we see immediate fruit. Back then, we had to wait. But now it's like we post a video and it's like, boom, immediate fruit. We post a video and it's like, boom, immediate fruit. We post a video and it's like, boom, immediate fruit. Now we do renovations and it's like, boom, immediate fruit. Now we get in the project like this right here, like building this amazing barn, Ernest back here, and we see immediate fruit. Now we get sheep. And it's like I'm looking at a sheep right now. She's feeding one of her babies. It's like there's immediate fruit. But because we knew one of the reasons why we felt it was time for us to move down to the farm and start farming full time and homesteading full time is because our farm vision that the Lord had given us seems as if it wasn't prospering in the way that it needed to prosper. And it's like towards the end of our city ministry, it seemed as if our city ministry wasn't prospering like it needed to prosper. And so for that last year, while we were in the city, we kind of downsized everything on the farm. We got rid of a lot of our animals. We stopped planting gardens. We stopped trying to build stuff. We stopped trying to do fencing, and we just locked in full.
And coach, usually people, they look forward to God saying, well done, my good and faithful servant, when they get to their day of judgment. Okay, when they're called before God, usually they don't expect to hear that affirmation every step along the way. But you implied that when you guys left your city ministry, that God said, well done, well done, even though it was incomplete, even though it was unfruitful. God, for some reason, God said, well done, my good and faithful servant, my faithful servant that has been pilfering through the donations, my faithful servant that has been barbering, that has been selling dog kennels under the heading of the ministry and actually pocketing those proceeds. God was saying, good job, my faithful servant. When you claimed that you were going out to the farm to do farming full time, going out to the farm to do homesteading full time, and you have yet gotten to full-time farming or even full-time homesteading, God said, my good and faithful servant. I'm not too sure about that. And oh, by the way, when God speaks to you, I doubt heavily that God says, ha, when he's speaking to you. Okay. My good and faithful servant, ha. I doubt that he says, ha. So if you're hearing a voice that's saying, ha, from time to time, it's saying, ha, good job, ha, keep it going, ha, get them donations, ha, get them gifts, ha, get them tips, ha, get them offerings, ha. Okay. That voice could only be coming from one person. Okay. It's a voice in your head, coach. It's the voice of Tim. Okay. Ha.
Force on the ministry that the Lord had for us in the city. And that last year is when the Lord spoke to us and said, well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over few. Now I'm going to make you ruler over many. And so now the Lord has given us this easy and light burden to where we can rule the things, the many that he's given us. And it's just, I just love it.
But all right. That's it for my reaction to that recent From Prison to Perping Nodcast. But actually this one actually woke me up. Some of the claims that were offered during this Nodcast actually woke me up and got my attention. But that's it for my reaction. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Chop it up in the comments. Burner Tim in the heavies. I'll meet you guys there. I want to shoot out some love to my current subscribers. Thank you for showing me that love. For those viewers that have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing so that we can continue to shine that light. Until next time.